Hello, Mr. Jeffrey. Really nice to see you again. And thank you for the chance for me to get to know you more and interview you in terms of knowledge and skill that I know that you can share a lot of things to us as the listener. Now, are you
Thank you for
ready?
inviting me, Amel. Thank you for inviting me. It's a great pleasure to join you on this podcast. Yeah.
Yes, it's my honor actually. Mr. Jeffrey Tan, our guest speaker today, is a founder of three businesses. He started a financial planning practice in 2010, followed by a travel consultancy in 2012, and coaching consultancy in 2016. And Mr. Jeff is a certified trainer and life coach with a John C Maxwell. I think it's a very famous name in the leadership. He has taught several organizations and schools in Asia on leadership, financial literacy, and life skill for youths. And right now, Mr. Jeff is living in Adelaide, Australia, a board member as well in the Adelaide Christian School, FETA, and Adelaide City Care. Thank you for joining me, Mr. Jeff. Today,
Pleasure.
our topic is more about 21st century skills. You know, after this pandemic things, a lot of people lost their job. Now we start to questioning again what is actually really important for us to have, to master, not only to survive, but also to thrive in this kind of world. As you know, that a lot of things is happening right now, technology, artificial intelligence, robots, Internet of Things, and so on. It really changed and shapes the business, the economics, the policy and everything. So what do you see, what challenges that actually we are facing right now in this time being?
Yeah. I think you as you have summed up very apt in this time where in this post-COVID world, a lot of things have changed. Even before the pandemic, we already know that we are all moving into this whole thing about artificial intelligence and robots and so on and so forth, which means in time to come, job creation may not be as fast as the population growth. So the challenge for us, whether it is your generation or the generations to come, the question is, one, will there be enough jobs created as the population continues to expand? But then also we know that with automation and AI and even with some of the jobs being replaced, the question you need to ask is, what are the areas or what kind of jobs are most likely not going to be replaced by AI? That's the first question you need to ask yourself. Secondly, whilst you are still young, what can you upskill, all right, to be able to stay current? So the big challenge is really in this post-COVID world, take time to just pause for a while and then ask those few questions, do some research, and then get yourself future ready. I think that's something that's very important for all of us to consider during this time.
Yeah. What you say is really true, that the number of job created, I never really think about it. The number of job created and also the growth of the population will be not in the same speed anymore.
Correct. Yeah. And even like some jobs, like say, for example, accounting. Who would imagine that accounting will be replaced by robots? We always thought that, well, these are kind of jobs that will never be replaced. But even in Australia, where I live, they are already starting to look at how to replace some of the easier, or what we call the low-lying fruits, the easy jobs that can be replaced by computers or AI. Even chefs. You thought food, but some of the food industry is now looking at automation, which means in the kitchen, instead of needing 10 chefs or sous chefs, now you may only need 5 because parts of it is already through AI and IoTs. And so we have to position ourselves for it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Even I'm not mistaken, in the medical world, they also like using artificial intelligence already to help to replace some job of a doctor. Who knows? I mean, in Indonesia, profession as a doctor is really seen like, wow, it's really something. Everyone wants to be like them. But right now, it's not really relevant anymore with the world, right? So that's a good thing, that we need to also question ourselves, because I believe that everything is start from ourselves. Even though the whole world, the whole article, or even the education system telling us to prepare, but if we're not asking ourselves, do I prepare? What things that I need to prepare? We will not start to prepare, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's it. This is a time for us to pause and rethink. Yeah.
Yes, pause and rethink.
Absolutely.
So because everything is start from us, and then this is really a right time to pause and reflect, because all of us now is locked down in our house. So what kind of way of thinking or mindset or perspective do you think that we need to have or to nurture to always be ready? Being reflective, I believe it's not only right now, but in the next future things. I think this is a thing that we need to do regularly, right? Being reflective.
Correct.
So what kind of mindset or way of thinking that we need to develop?
I think personally, in this day and age, mental resilience is very important.
Yes.
You might have heard of this coin phrase. They call it a strawberry generation. Strawberry generation, they talk about is, they look very nice on the outside but soft on the inside.
Yeah.
And what we really need today is raising a generation, or whether it's at school or your parents at home, or at work, or wherever you are, you need to start to develop a mental resilience, because as you may already know, especially in Australia during the pandemic, what they have identified was that mental stress or mental health issues has risen over the last 10 weeks to a level whereby they say it is unprecedented. In other words, a lot of people, look, I don't want to say that, oh, this is only pandemic, why are people stressed? No, it is stressful. I'm not trying to play down. What I'm saying is, in a crisis, as the world evolves, where we are going to be met with more challenges ahead of us, mental resilience is important. And in order to overcome, because what sets you apart from being an average and one who is above average and one who excels in a crisis, the one who excels in the crisis are those with a mental resilience. They have the resilience to go through it, and not only go through it, they also grow out of it into a new, so that they can adapt and evolve into better leaders in the new world that they go in. So mental resilience is very important.
Wow, that's really powerful word. Not only go to the crisis, but grow through the crisis.
Yeah.
Talking about mental resilience, I think that's also a challenges that we face in this kind of generations. The generation from baby boomers and the X generation, Y generations. The generations that born where everything were so fast, ready in their hand. This kind of situation, when you want to buy something, you just click, and then the thing is directly come to your house. It makes us also like now having a very low resilience, because everything is set there, like an instant generations, right? Because everything comes instantly right now because of technology. I do agree that mental resilience is really important for our generation and for nowadays situations. But how specifically we can nurture mental resilience?
Yeah, look, mental resilience is something that I wish I can say you can follow A, B, C, D, E, and then that's it, and you got mental resilience. Unfortunately, it's a learning process. There is no one way that you could possibly do and say, it's not like bodybuilding, you carry the weights and then you get bigger, or you do this, mental resilience is a lot of what we call grit. We got to go through lots of circumstances, trials, tribulation, and then we just build. But what I can say is, every time when we go through a crisis, or every time when we go through a setback, every time when we face challenges, the first word is response. So you want to build a real mental resilience. I'm just trying to use the word acronym REAL. So you want to build real mental resilience. It starts with a response. Every time when you encounter a problem, what do? Do you react or do you respond to a situation?
That's true.
If you're always very reactive, and then probably you're going to react so often that you won't take time to reflect, learn, and respond. Because with a measured response to a crisis or to any situation, that's where you set yourself from an average, a mediocre, and someone who is excellent.
Yes.
Because you have a measured response into a situation. The next one is E, empathy. You know, in this world that we live in, if you want to build mental resilience, you really need to have that empathy, a caring thinking skills, they call it, whereby you can empathize with someone and you really take time to really care for the person or even to care for the people surrounding you. And that builds mental resilience. Because when you show empathy, what happens is that you build trust in people. And when you start to build trust in a relationship, you yourself get strengthened because you are surrounded by good people who can also lift you up. A is attitude. You need to have a positive attitude in terms of when you encounter a situation. You know, there's a good cliche, a saying that says, positive attitude then will see you up or go up in a higher altitude. In other words, it says positive attitude equates to higher altitude. You know, so when you have a positive attitude in life, you are going to be able to soar quicker or soar higher because you are able to take something that is negative, like they say, do you look at the glass half empty or do you look at the glass half full? You know, a half empty person will always look at a piece of paper and look for the black dot on the paper. Whereas a positive person with a positive attitude, even though you have a big, huge black dot on the piece of paper, they won't look at the black dot. They will try to look at the white piece of paper and says, what are the opportunities? And the last one, L, is really about leadership. You know, you need that leadership to be able to lead not only yourself, but also to lead people. And so leadership is a huge topic. I mean, I can't, you know, unfortunately, I can't do it all within one session, but I'll say, look, if anyone who's listening and you are keen to grow yourself, mental resilience, look at this thing, REAL, and find help to help develop those areas. I think that's a good starting point. It's not the way, but it is definitely a good starting point to begin building mental resilience.
Yes, that's really good. So real, the first is respond instead of react. So I have to stop first, reflect first, and really being deliberate with what we're response to the situation. And then the next E, it's empathy. So it's also touch the heart, the empathy, the ability to empathize. So I thought this word, resiliency, is only about yourself, but it's not, because we are need other. We are social creatures. Once we get strengthened, by strengthening others, we also become strong. I think that's really good. Positive attitude, A, attitude. And the last L is leadership, a skill. So it's really holistic for you as a person, and not only you as a person, but also related with other persons. You also need to help others. Wow, that's how
true.
to this. And then have to be remember that building mental resilience, it's a long process. It's a learning process. And I think also it's depend on the crisis that we face, right? Because crisis is not, it's never stop. I mean, we'll always gonna face problem and crisis in our life.
Oh yeah,
right?
plenty. I mean, you overcome one, tomorrow there's another problem, because there'll be, you know, and people with positive attitude, because I've seen it before. I've seen people with positive attitude. You know, when they encounter a problem, they can just take it so positively, and they say, you know what? I don't see this as a problem. They see potential behind the problem. When they see an obstacle, they say, oh, this obstacle doesn't mean it's stopping me. What it means is this obstacle is just showing me what are the opportunities that can come if I overcome this obstacle. So that's the kind of mindset that I've learned from other people. I said, wow, if they can have adopt such a positive attitude, then I must also adopt the same kind of positive attitude. Because if you're always looking for the positives, that helps us personally and also the people around us to be energized to gain the momentum to go forward.
Yeah, that's really true. Seeing something, see something that not everyone can see, and it's something that positive beyond the obstacles, beyond the problem, beyond the crisis, and see it as the way to improve yourself. Oh, thank you so much for reminding us about that. And then that's also like reminding me to see all the problem that are rising right now as a chance, also see it, learn to see beyond the crisis, and then really not only go to the crisis but grow through the crisis. Wow, that's really powerful.
That's it. You're all right. You're spot on, Mel. Very good.
Okay, so it's yes, we start with the mindset. Okay, so the mindset help us to decide that, okay, I need to prepare myself, I need to prepare for the futures. So what, in your opinion, what is the skill that we're gonna need in the future? Because the world is changes, like what you say, we're gonna face also the numbers of job. It's not the growth of the job is not as fast as the populations. But I also believe that will be another job that we never heard before, right? Because the world is so agile. So what kind of skill that we need to have? I mean, we need to keep have it for all the long way. And then what things that we need to keep develop? Is there any kind of skill like that?
Yeah, you are right. And to say that the world is always evolving, the world is always changing. You might have already heard this. It says the only constant is change.
Yes.
Right? Change is the only constant. But I want to add a few more things that is constant. Problems is constant.
True.
Wherever we go, we're gonna, because as long as there's people, there's problem. That's the fact. Whether you are in school teaching, you're gonna encounter problems, because it's not because the things created problem. Things don't create problem. It's the people that creates problem for us.
Yeah.
So those two things is another constant other than change. People and problem.
People and problem.
And so because people and problem is going to be constant, so even the world continue to evolve, whether with AI, IoT, or whatever things, there are many other jobs that's not even created today, but it will be created sometime in the next 1 year, 3 years, 10 years, we don't know. Because people and problem persist. Yeah. And so what we do know is, because people and problem persist, I guess the next question we need to ask is, what can I do in this day and age to prepare and position myself so that whenever I encounter those problems, or when I'm working with people, I have the necessary skill sets to know how to navigate through those times. And I think personally, and I think even many educators have talked about, it's just not me. Look, I'm not that clever, all right? So there are many educators have talked about it as well. That is the whole area of different skills. Like the first one we need to have is learning skills.
Yes.
We need to have learning skills. We need to have life skills, and we need to have literacy skills. So these are the three different skills that we need to constantly develop as we go along. It's never it's not like graduating from uni or whatever. You just finish 3 years or 4 years and that's it, you're done. No. These skills will have to be, you have to stay adaptable, grow as time goes on, So whatever that you learn, some of the skills become outdated overnight.
Yes.
But what we need to do is continuously be learning. However, having said that, how to solve problems? I think the key is solving problem. You really need to develop critical thinking skills and creative thinking skills.
Yes.
These two skills, critical thinking and creative thinking skills, these two skills are like the pillars in anything that you do to solve a problem. You need the logical thinking when you encounter a problem. You need to be able to be critical in systematically tackling and analyzing the problem. But other than analyzing the problem, you need the creative thinking side, like, okay, now that I have all the knowledge, how do I make that into a solution? How do I become creative in solving it and presenting it in such a way it becomes an opportunity? And that's something that unfortunately, many schools, even in college or in schools or even at workplace or even parents, we don't really teach the children how to creatively solve the problem. We tend to give them a set piece of solution and says, all right, you know, like I was brought up in a school system where you do your math, your science, everything is very, what do we call critical? It's very logical, all right?
Yes.
We solve this, you do a math, there's certain formulas, you apply, you solve it. But in real life, you need to not just analyze the problem, you need to be able to be creative on the other side to package it or to come up with something different. And that's where when we see a problem, we need to apply these two sets of skills, critical thinking and creative thinking. Then you have the people problem. After you've got all the solution and you have this, a bright idea, how do you bring that idea to the people? Yeah. That's where you need your communication skills and your collaborating skills. If you are working in an organization, you need to collaborate. You can't do it alone. You have to have the collaborating as a team player. You need to be able to communicate clearly your vision. You need to articulate or read or speak and do the things that you need to do to get the ideas from one to the people. And once the idea gets communicated to the people, you need to get a team, and that's where collaborating skills come in. How to become a team player, and that's where some of the soft skills like leadership comes in, and so on and so forth, to bring people together so that you can create the momentum to get you there.
Yes, I think it's really true. The way you explain it's really systematic for me. I mean, there's two things that are not changing. It's people and problem. That's why we need problem solving skill people. We also need a people skills. And no matter how good or great your ideas is, if you cannot communicate it with your team, it doesn't solve the problem. If you cannot get your ideas across, right?
Not only you cannot solve the problem, you become more frustrated as well, because you tell us, I know, but I just can't get it out. So, and then you get frustrated. People get frustrated, and everyone gets frustrated. So you create a new problem.
That's really true. Yeah. So yes, we need to be critical in solving the problem, but the way you also say that being creative is also as important as being critical. I mean, I saw a lot of things, a lot of stores, business, it's been closed down during this pandemic, and only those who are creative and see the opportunity, I mean, something that we cannot even think about it before. That's those kind of businessmen, those kind of entrepreneurs that really survive in this kind of era, in this kind of crisis times. And we never know what kind of crisis that we're going to face in the futures, right? So not only critical thinking, but also being creative. And it's really closed down. Like wrap it up. You also need a communication skill and collaboration skill to bring your ideas across. I heard a lot of things about this. It's not about competitions anymore, but now it's time of collaborations. So it's not only one man show anymore. Right?
No, definitely not. In fact, with globalization, you need to be able to reach out, not just to your own fellow country people. Now you're talking about globalization. You need to be able to connect with people of different cultures, different language, different work ethics and everything. You just need to. The world is getting smaller, and you just need to be able to collaborate. You just need to embrace diversity. If not, if you're still so closed up, like this is the only world that you know, then you're gonna miss out on many other opportunities.
Yes, that's true. And also, if we only do everything by ourselves, we really cannot keep up with the speed that the world right now. The growth of the world right now, it's very fast. I mean, you cannot really understand it by yourself alone without a team, without someone who can help you. And then it's really true that the world is getting smaller. You can get across a lot of team members from a lot of countries with their perspective can be also a resources for us to develop our business maybe. That's really the thing.
And that's where the entrepreneur skills come in as well. Sometimes, you I know of lecturers, the academias, the lecturers, but yet after a while they teach, and they've been teaching universities, they get out of teaching, and then they come up with other creative stuff, and they started their own business. And this is because they are able to put knowledge, whatever they know, that's knowledge, and that's the critical part. But now they're able to turn that knowledge into creative ideas, and that's why they left their high-paying jobs in uni to start up, urban farming, for example.
Yes.
And that's great. I mean, and that's why we need to continuously allow ourselves to embrace failure as a friend.
Yeah, that's really true. I mean,
You know,
failure is part of learning, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's why, unfortunately, the world doesn't allow us to fail. Especially in education. When you fail, what happens? You fail a subject, and then sometimes you got to either repeat, or sometimes you say, oh, you fail, you got to drop out of the course. But in real life, look at any business people, how many times they fail. But those who are successful are those who got up again. They fail, they get up, they fail, they get up. And then because they are able to get up, they have never failed. You only fail when you fall and you never get up. That's when you fail.
That's really true.
And I mean, look, if I can have the time to share my story, I will tell you how many times I've also failed, in different things. Before I can even talk on a certain subject, I've gone through my own setbacks in life, and I have to get up a couple of times, sometimes I don't feel like getting up, but that's where the positive attitude needs to come in and drive you forward again.
Yeah, and it's also go back to the resiliency again, right? Because facing the failures and then the ability to get up again, it's also talk about resiliency. I mean, you see the failure as a part of learning. You're not stopped because of that, but you think, and then, oh, how can I do better for my next project after this failure? So that's also a kind of way of thinking that we need to also learn and always develop from ourselves. And then also, it's also part of having a friend is really a good idea to keep us like, yeah, we can do it together.
Oh yeah, we need that. We need a lot of encouragement these days. Especially in this time and age where there's so many challenges ahead of us. The last thing you want people is to pull you down. What you want is to be able to pull people up along the way, and let other people pull you up as well along the way, so that constantly we are moving forward. But there always be but there's always people who want to pull us down. And and there always be people who wish that you fall down. And that's where, unfortunately, but that's true in life, and that's where we need to just know how to pace ourselves and navigate through those situations.
I see. So, in the conclusions, we need problem-solving skill. It caters like critical thinking and creative thinking skill. We also need people skill, like communication and collaborative skill, and all these is a learning skill. I mean, we need to keep our self-learning to become relevant to the world. We need to always be adaptable, because it's changing. I mean, even the people skill or communication skill right now, the way people communicate also quite different before we have a face-to-face meeting or something like that. Right now, like 99% is all moved into like online communication way. Through Meet, through webinars, through screen and everything. It's also changes. You still communicate, but the way we communicate, it's changing by the time. Right?
Yeah.
So that's part of learning skill. Be always adaptable. All right.
Correct.
Last questions. Give us some simple stuff that we can start to do once we close the podcast.
Oh, I wish. Okay. Look, I think for a start, you need to do that self-reflection first. And in that self-reflection, you need to ask yourself, okay, out of what we just said, get a friend, someone who's close enough to be able to give you an honest feedback about yourself, whether it's your colleague, your boyfriend, girlfriend, or your parents, someone close, all right? And says, all right, I have got all these things that I just learned. What are some of the skills that you see that I'm really good at? And what are some of the things that you see that I am really lacking in?
Mm.
And then based on that, be determined and be intentional
Yes.
to say, all right, those that I'm already good at, continue to grow and polish it up. But those that I'm weak in, and that you know that you need help, find one area to start with.
I see.
And you gotta, because look, we all know that every time we come up from whether it's a lecture or a motivational talk, we get really pumped up, but we don't really get down to putting it into action.
Yes.
So my simple rule is this: you just need to do one thing only. Start off with just one area. Out of that, all that has been said, just one area. You just need to create momentum.
Yes.
That's the word. So if you can get one area going, that's how momentum gets picked up. And once you see one success, then success breeds success.
Yes.
But you need to overcome the law of inertia, which is if you don't do anything, nothing is going to happen.
That's true.
But when there's a force to it, when there's an action, that's where there is some momentum to take place. So we need to start one area.
Yes.
And if you can get it right, I can't tell you which one to start with, unfortunately, but what I'll say is the principle is get started with one area, create the momentum, and then you're going to see the snowball effect of it as when momentum gets picked up. I hope that answers your question.
Yes. Yeah. I think everyone can do right now. I mean, like, have a quiet time, really think, ask feedback from people who are close to you, to see them and give you like input or feedback on something that maybe you don't realize you have it. What is your strength? What is your weaknesses? And then start with one. I love that idea. Sometimes a lot of goals are failed because it's too big, too many goals, right? And start with one area is really relevant and it's doable because it's only one. Start with small thing, but being consistent, like what you say, keep the momentum. Do not lose the momentum. I mean, once you start to keep consistent, it will lead to another thing. I believe when we increase one value in our life, the other value will also raise because of the first value that we intentionally develop in ourselves.
Yeah, spot on. Well done, Emil.
I love the word intentional. I believe that, everyone can learn by the situation and conditions, but the maximum result you only get it from intentional growth, intentional actions, right? Thank you so much. Wow, such a powerful conversation.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I enjoy talking to you. So
it also gave me a lot of ideas. I mean, let's see if we can have episode 2 and 3 with you, Mr. Jeff.
Episode, okay, pleasure. It's a pleasure. Like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed the time, and it's, I don't see this as anything other than the fact that I'm able to, I guess, contribute something back, whatever I've learned. So yeah, it's a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jeffrey. What you've been shared, it's really precious for us. And then I really also hope that all the listeners really take the message and start to do something with their life. We need to keep preparing ourselves. We need to always learn. The world is changing, and then we also need to always be relevant with the world. Thank you so much for sharing a lot of things. I pick up from this conversation. I believe the listeners also learn a lot of things. Thank you, Mr. Jeff.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mel.